December 19, 1944. Luxembourg. A stone farmhouse lit by a single kerosene lamp. Outside, snow falls in thick curtains. Inside, George S. Patton stands over a map spread across a wooden table. Red circles mark German positions. Blue arrows show American lines. One arrow points north. Toward Bastogne, toward the trap. A clock on the mantel reads 3:47. In 72 hours, the 101st Airborne will be surrounded, cut off, annihilated. Unless Patton can move an entire army, 90 degrees, through ice, through snow, through roads that don't exist on any map. His chief of staff enters, Colonel Harkins, face pale, exhausted. "Sir, the weather report, blizzard conditions through Christmas, roads impassable, supply lines frozen. The staff recommends we wait for." "Wait." Patton cuts him off. His voice is steel. "Wait for what? For the Germans to finish the job? For Bastogne to become a graveyard?" Harkins sets down a folder. Casualty projections. If they move now in this weather, losses could be severe before they even engage the enemy. Frostbite. Accidents. Vehicles sliding off cliffs. Men freezing in foxholes. Thousands of casualties from the march alone. "And if we don't move?" Patton asks. Bastogne falls. 15,000 men. Gone. Patton walks to the window. Stares into the blizzard. His reflection stares back. A man who built a legend on speed, on audacity, on never stopping. But speed in a blizzard isn't audacity. It's suicide. Or is it salvation? He turns. "Get me Bradley on the line, and find me a road. I don't care if it's a goat path. I don't care if it's not on the map. Find me a way north. We move at dawn." Harkins hesitates. "Sir, the men are exhausted. The equipment is frozen. We need time to—" "Time is what we don't have." Patton's voice drops. Quiet, dangerous. "The Germans think we can't do this. Eisenhower thinks we can't do this. Hell, half my own staff thinks we can't do this. That's why we're going to do it." He leans over the map, traces a line with his finger. A single road, narrow, winding, through the Ardennes forest, through enemy territory, through hell. "Becoming a legend is easy," he whispers. "You just keep moving. But keeping men alive while you do it, that's the part they don't put in the history books." The lamp flickers. Outside, the wind howls, the clock ticks. 72 hours, 90 miles, one road, and a decision that will either save an army or destroy it. The Battle of the Bulge. Hitler's last desperate gamble, a surprise offensive through the Ardennes, catching the Allies off guard, smashing through weak points, creating chaos, surrounding American units. The 101st Airborne is trapped in Bastogne, a critical crossroads town. If it falls, the entire Allied line collapses. The Germans win time, maybe win the war. Patton's Third Army is 100 miles south, engaged in their own offensive, pushing east, toward the Rhine, toward Germany, toward victory. But now, everything changes. Eisenhower calls. "George, I need you to disengage. Turn north. Relieve Bastogne." "How fast can you do it?" Patton doesn't hesitate. 48 hours. Silence on the line. Then laughter. Nervous. Disbelieving. "George, you're 100 miles away, in a blizzard, through mountains, with an army that's been fighting for weeks. Be serious." "I am serious. We'll be there." More silence. "Then do it." "But George, don't lose the army trying to save Bastogne. We need both." The line goes dead. Patton gathers his staff. A dozen officers, maps spread across every surface, cigarette smoke thick in the air. The plan is insane. Disengage 3 divisions, turn them 90 degrees, march them north, through snow, through ice, through enemy-held territory. Attack the German flank, break through to Bastogne, all in 72 hours. "It can't be done," says one colonel, a logistics officer. "Practical, cautious." "Sir, the roads are frozen. The supply lines can't keep up. The men are exhausted. We need at least a week, to—" Patton slams his hand on the table. "A week? In a week, Bastogne is gone. In a week, the Germans are in Paris. In a week, we've lost the war. We don't have a week. We have now." He points to the map. "This road, here, through Arlon, through the forest. It's narrow, it's dangerous, but it's direct. We take it." "Sir, that road is barely wide enough for one vehicle. If anything breaks down, the entire column stops. and the Germans control the high ground on both sides. It's a killing zone. Then we move at night. We move fast, and we don't stop. Not for breakdowns, not for casualties, not for anything. We push through or we die trying. Alone in his quarters, Patton stares at the map, the weight of command, the weight of lives. 30,000 men, following his orders, trusting his judgment, believing in his legend. But legends don't feel the cold, don't hear the screams, don't count the bodies. He thinks about the projections. Thousands of men could fall, just from the march, before they even fight. Frostbite cases, vehicle accidents, exposure deaths, men who will die because he ordered them to move, to keep moving, to never stop. But if he waits, 15,000 die in Bastogne, plus however many more when the German offensive succeeds, when the Allies are pushed back, when the war drags on for another year, 2 years. How many die then? The math is brutal, the choice is clear, but clarity doesn't make it easier. He pours a drink, whiskey, neat, drinks it in one swallow, pours another, stares at his reflection in the window, a man in his 50s, gray hair, hard eyes, a face carved by war, by command, by the weight of decisions that kill men. You wanted this, he tells his reflection. You wanted command, you wanted glory, you wanted to be remembered. Well, here it is. This is what it costs. He drinks the second whiskey, sets down the glass, walks back to the map, traces the route again. 90 miles, 72 hours, one road. He can do this. He has to do this, because if he doesn't, who will? December 20th, 4 o'clock hours. The Third Army begins to move. 3 divisions, 30,000 men, thousands of vehicles, tanks, trucks, artillery, all turning north, all heading into the blizzard, all following one man's order, one man's gamble, one man's belief that speed and audacity can overcome weather and terrain and exhaustion. The roads are ice, vehicles slide, crash, block the route. Engineers work in the freezing dark, pushing wrecks off cliffs, clearing paths, dying from exposure, from accidents, from the cold. A young engineer, Private Kowalski, slips on black ice while guiding a supply truck, falls, hits his head on frozen stone, dead before the medics reach him. The column doesn't stop, can't stop, keeps moving. Men march through knee-deep snow, feet numb, fingers frozen, breath crystallizing in the air. Some collapse. Hypothermia, frostbite, exhaustion. Medics do what they can, but there's no time to stop, no time to rest. The column keeps moving, because Patton ordered it, because Bastogne is dying, because stopping means failing. Reports come in, casualties mounting, not from combat, from the march itself. Vehicles lost, men lost, supply trucks can't keep up, fuel running low, ammunition running low, food running low, everything running low except the snow and the cold, and the distance still to cover. Patton rides in his jeep, near the front, visible, deliberate. He wants the men to see him, to know he's here, sharing the misery, sharing the risk, leading, not from a warm headquarters, but from the frozen road, from the heart of the nightmare he created. A young lieutenant approaches, salutes. "Sir, we've lost contact with the rear column. Radios are frozen solid, ice in the circuits. We don't know if they're still moving, or if they're moving," Patton says. "Because I ordered them to move, and my men follow orders." "Yes, sir. But sir, the casualties." "I know the casualties, Lieutenant. I know every man we've lost. I'll know every man we lose tomorrow, and the day after. But if we stop, we lose more. If we turn back, we lose everything. So we keep moving." "Clear." "Yes, sir." The lieutenant salutes, walks away. Patton watches him go. A kid, 22, maybe 23, old enough to die, young enough to believe in legends, in commanders who never doubt, never hesitate, never show fear. Patton lights a cigarette. His hands shake, not from cold, from the weight, the crushing, suffocating weight of command. December 21st, 14 o'clock hours. The column reaches a river. The bridge is destroyed, blown by retreating Germans or by Allied bombers. Doesn't matter. The bridge is gone. The river is wide, deep, frozen at the edges, but flowing in the center. Impassable. Engineers assess. "Sir, we can build a pontoon bridge, but it'll take 12 hours. Maybe more in this weather. 12 hours, half a day." Bastogne doesn't have half a day. Patton stares at the river, at the far bank, at the road continuing north, so close, so impossibly far. Is there another crossing? He asks. Yes, sir, 10 miles east, a smaller bridge, still intact, but it's narrow, single lane. The column will have to move slowly, and it's exposed. Germans control the hills, they'll see us coming. 10 miles east, then 10 miles back west, 20 miles added, 4 hours, maybe 6. Plus the slow crossing, plus the exposure to enemy fire. The math is brutal, but it's faster than 12 hours. Maybe we take the eastern bridge, Patton decides. Send scouts ahead, clear the route, and get me air cover. I don't care if the weather's bad. I don't care if the pilots can't see. I want planes in the air. Now, the staff scrambles, orders fly, the column diverts, vehicles turn, crawl east, through narrower roads, through deeper snow. Men curse, wonder why, wonder if their commander knows what he's doing, or if he's just guessing, gambling, playing with their lives. Patton rides at the front, silent, jaw clenched, eyes scanning the hills, waiting for German artillery, for ambush, for the mistake that turns a gamble into a massacre. But the Germans don't fire. Maybe they don't see the column. Maybe they're too surprised by the audacity. Maybe they think it's a feint, a diversion, not a full army marching through a blizzard to save a surrounded town. The column reaches the bridge, narrow, wooden, creaking under the weight of tanks. Engineers reinforce it, frantically, desperately. One tank at a time, slow, agonizing. Hours passing, the clock ticking, Bastogne dying. Patton stands on the bridge, watching, counting. Every vehicle, every delay, every second lost. His staff urges him to move back, to safety, to cover. But he stays, visible, defiant. A message to his men: I'm here. I'm risking what you're risking. Follow me. A Sherman tank rolls onto the bridge. The wood groans, splinters, cracks. Engineers shout, wave frantically. The tank stops, backs up, inches forward again. Slower, the bridge holds, barely. The tank crosses. Another follows, and another. The crossing takes 6 hours. 6 hours of agony, 6 hours of vulnerability, 6 hours of Patton standing on that bridge, refusing to move, refusing to hide, refusing to show fear. December 22nd. Morning. The column is through, back on the main road, heading north, 40 miles from Bastogne. The weather shifts. December 23rd brings a break. The clouds thin, slightly, enough for air support. P-47, thunderbolts roar overhead, strafing German positions, clearing the road, giving the Third Army room to breathe, room to move, room to fight. Patton receives a message, from Bastogne, from General McAuliffe, the 101st Commander, surrounded, low on ammunition, low on food, low on hope. The Germans have demanded surrender. McAuliffe's response: nuts. One word: defiant, legendary. But defiance doesn't stop bullets, doesn't stop tanks, doesn't stop the clock. Patton radios back. Hold on, we're coming. 24 hours, maybe less. Hold on. He turns to his staff. We're close, but close isn't enough. We need to hit them hard, fast. Break through before they reinforce, before they dig in, before Bastogne falls. He orders an attack. Immediate, no rest, no preparation, just speed, just violence, just the Third Army doing what it does best: attacking. The lead elements engage. German positions, dug in, fortified, machine guns, artillery, panzers. The Americans attack. Tanks rolling, infantry charging, artillery pounding. The snow turns red, the air fills with smoke, with screams, with the roar of war. Patton is there, not in the rear, not in safety, but forward, with his men, urging them on, shouting, cursing, inspiring. A man possessed, a man who refuses to accept failure, refuses to accept delay, refuses to accept anything less than victory. The Germans fight hard, but they're surprised, shocked that an entire army moved this fast, this far, through this weather. They thought it was impossible. Everyone thought it was impossible, except Patton. And because he believed, his men believed, and because they believed, they did the impossible. December 26, 1645 hours. The lead tanks of the 4th Armored Division, part of Patton's Third Army, break through the German lines. They roll into Bastogne. The siege is lifted. The 101st is saved. The gamble worked. Patton arrives hours later, drives through the shattered town, past burned-out buildings, past frozen corpses, past exhausted soldiers who look at him with hollow eyes, eyes that have seen too much, endured too much, survived too much. He meets McAuliffe, they shake hands, two commanders, two legends, two men who refuse to quit. "You made it," McAuliffe says, simple, understated. "Grateful. I said I would," Patton replies. "Took a bit longer than 48 hours, but we made it. A lot of your men didn't." Patton's jaw tightens. "I know." They stand in silence. The weight of command, the cost of victory, the price paid in blood and cold and lives that can never be returned. "Was it worth it?" McAuliffe asks. Not accusing, just asking. Commander to commander, man to man. Patton looks around, at the soldiers, at the town, at the road that brought him here. "Ask me in 50 years, when the historians write it down, when they call it a miracle, when they forget what it cost." He walks away, back to his jeep, back to his army, back to the war that still has months to go, months of fighting, months of dying, months of dying, months of decisions that will haunt him until the day he dies. The relief of Bastogne becomes legend. Patton's impossible march, the 90-degree turn, the blizzard, the speed, the audacity. History remembers the victory, the brilliance, the boldness, but Patton remembers the cost. Thousands of casualties reported, frostbite cases numbering in the hundreds, vehicle accidents, exposure deaths, men who died before they ever fired a shot, men who died because he ordered them to move, to keep moving, to never stop. He writes letters, to families, to widows, to mothers, explaining, justifying, apologizing. But words don't bring back the dead. Words don't warm frozen bodies. Words don't erase the choice he made, the gamble he took, the price he paid. In his private journal he writes, "They will call this a great victory. They will study it in war colleges. They will say I did the impossible, but they won't know what it cost. They won't see the faces, won't hear the screams, won't feel the weight. Command is a lonely thing, victory is a cold thing, and history is a lie that forgets the price." He closes the journal, pours a drink, stares at the map, at the road he took, at the crossroads where he made his choice, speed or safety, audacity or caution, legend or humanity. He chose speed, he chose audacity, he chose legend, and 15,000 men lived because of it, but thousands fell along the way, and he will carry every single one for the rest of his life. Years later, after the war, a young officer asks him, "Sir, at Bastogne, when you made the decision to move that fast, in that weather, knowing the cost, how did you know it was the right choice?" Patton looks at him, hard, tired, old. "I didn't." The officer is confused. "But sir, you saved Bastogne, you." "I gambled," Patton interrupts. "I bet that moving fast would cost less than moving slow. I bet that audacity would win over caution. I bet that I could do the impossible, and I won the bet. But it was still a bet, still a gamble, still a choice that killed men. But you saved more than you lost." "Did I?" Patton asks. "How do you measure that? How do you weigh one life against another? How do you tell a mother that her son died so that someone else's son could live? How do you sleep at night knowing that your decision, your order, your gamble, put men in the ground?" The young officer has no answer. Patton stands, walks to the window, stares out. Command is about making choices, impossible choices, choices where every option costs lives. You do the math, you weigh the odds, you make the call, and then you live with it. Or you don't, but you never ever forget the price. He turns back. They'll remember Bastogne, they'll remember the speed, the audacity, the legend, but I'll remember the faces, the names, the men who died because I ordered them to march through a blizzard. That's the part they don't teach in the war colleges. That's the part history forgets. December 19, 1944, a stone farmhouse, a kerosene lamp, a map, a clock ticking down, 72 hours, 90 miles, one road, and a man who had to decide move fast and lose some, or move slow and lose more. George S. Patton chose speed, chose audacity, chose the impossible, and he won. Bastogne was saved, the German offensive was blunted, the war was won. History remembers him as a genius, a legend, a man who did what no one else could do, but Patton remembered something else. He remembered the cold, the snow, the frozen bodies, the men who died not in combat but in the march, the engineer who slipped on ice, The radio men whose equipment froze, the drivers who went off cliffs, the infantrymen who collapsed from exhaustion, the price of speed, the cost of legend, the weight of command. In the end, every great victory is built on impossible choices. Every legend is forged in the fire of decisions that haunt the men who make them. Patton saved an army, but he paid for it. In blood, in guilt, in the faces he could never forget. That's the truth. History doesn't tell. That's the weight commanders carry. That's the price of being remembered. The blizzard ended. The siege was lifted. The legend was born. But in a quiet farmhouse, in the dark hours before dawn, a man stood over a map and made a choice that would save thousands and kill hundreds. And he carried both for the rest of his life. Speed saved Bastogne, but it couldn't save the men who died getting there. That's the paradox of command. That's the weight of war. That's the truth beneath the legend. George S. Patton at the frozen crossroads, a gamble that worked, a price that was paid, a choice that history celebrates, and the man who made it could never forget. Some roads lead to victory, some roads lead to legend, but every road is paved with the men who walked it, and the commander who ordered them forward carries every single one.